All right. So we're going to talk about relations and functions, okay? But, well, let's actually talk about this. Can you think of any type of sort of two variables where they are related, it affects each other? For example, for like age, really simple example is your age and the height. Definitely there's a really connection between the two variables, isn't it? Uh, the older you get, hopefully the higher, taller you become, right? Can you think of any other sort of two variables that are related to each other? Okay, yeah, very good. Weather, locations, and how about the time and the temperature? Yeah, it gets warmer, right? Normally, as time goes on, and then it starts to come down, and then the morning comes and it starts to go up again, right? So the time and temperature definitely is affected. Anything else? Yeah, I mean, I mean, everything you see around, right? Something is related to something, isn't it? Right? Whether temperature and time or the heights and the age and um, a lot of things, right? And in mathematics, you try to capture that the relationship in terms of equations and in terms of graph. You plot the points and then you try to capture the pattern, right? And that's how you can use the algebra or math into predicting, let's say, whether the weather, the temperature, economics, the patterns, right? There are all sorts of the populations. So people use mathematics to, one use of that is to predict, capture the pattern, relationship. Is there any pattern to the relationship? And can I describe that in terms of equations? And that's what mathematics, lots of a big use of mathematics is. Right? You use that mathematics to predict or to prevent something from happening. It's got a lot of a good power and use for that. I don't know if anybody's looking into pursuing mathematics for your career, or but definitely it is being used now. In terms of capturing the pattern, we need to be able to talk about first domain and range. And I want you to be familiar with those words because it will come up all the time in the math classes that you're going to take in college, universities, or next year, uh, college algebra. They will talk about domain, range, function. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Now, first of all, domain, range. It does sound a little bit intimidating to you, maybe the little fancy words, but simply put, domain is the set of all possible x values. So I'd like to write this down in your notes. It's going to be a little bit of a writing today. Hope you don't mind that. Again, domain is all the possible x values. because sometimes X values, depending on the type of relationship you're describing, domain is limited or range is limited. I mean, for example, easy example is like a parabola. You guys know how you guys seen a U-shaped graph, right? You see that the graph does not go below certain point, right? There is that bottom floor where the graph will no longer go below. There is the floor, right? Or if the parabola is upside down, there's only so much of the height you can achieve. Okay, so you can talk about what is the domain, what's the range, is there any limit to the graph that you can reach, or is there any limit to the how low the graph can go? So it's a really important concept in mathematics to talk about. Hey, what is the domain? What's the range? Is there any confinement? Is there any ceiling? Or is there any floor? Is there any boundary where graph is restricted? Okay. Um, or you can even set the limit when you're talking about, I'm going to talk about the temperature between 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then the domain, the let's say the domain, the x value, let's say x value is the time, then the domain is limited, isn't it? Right? So in math classes, you will talk about domain and range all the time. Yeah, so let's take a note of this. Okay, I want you to write. So the domain is all the set possible value of x value, and the range is a y value. Okay. Now, all the relationship or relations, what we call in math, is not always a function. Okay, and I want you to know the definition of the function right here. I mean, you've already used the word function without really knowing what the meaning of it, right? Like a linear function. Have you heard that before in Algebra 1? Or quadratic function. Have you heard that before, right? And you've used the word function, haven't you, right? But what is a function? Now, in order for the relations to be a function, each element of domain or x value is paired with exactly one element of the range or y value. I know it sounds a little bit complicated, but I will explain that with an example, okay? But I would like you to write that down right now. Okay, let me give you a minute to catch up on writing right here. And we're going to talk about very in a simple term what domain, range, and function is. Okay. So you guys okay? I'm ready to move on. Does anybody need more time? All right. Let's talk about an example. Okay. So here we have a set of coordinates. Okay. Negative 2, 2. That's a dot, isn't it? Negative 2, 2 would be negative 2, 2. It's a dot. 0, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 6. So go right there. 1, 7. 2, wait a second, 1, 6, 1, 7, 2, -1. Like the dots are all like all over, isn't it? Okay. So we've got the set. Now, first, we're going to state the domain. Okay. You find out that it's a really simple concept, at least at this level. Okay. Now, what is a domain? Well, we just said that domains are all the x values, right? So if I were to ask you this on the test, and hey, list the domain, all you do is you list all the x values. Okay. What are the x values? These are x values, isn't it? The first number of the coordinate. So you're going to do, it's a -2, 0, 1, and 2. And you do not need to write the same number twice because they are the same number. So we do not need to list as two separate numbers. So that's that. That's pretty easy, right? Let's do the range. Now, what is a range? Range is, again, is a y value, right? All the y values for this relations. So how do you do that? You're just going to list all the y values. It's kind of silly exercise, isn't it? But basically, that's what domain and range is. Okay, it captures the essence or the concept. Domain is x value, range is y values. So y values are 2, 5, 6, 7, -1. Okay, you get that? Now, maybe if there is anything tricky, and that would be the next question. Is the relation function? Is this a function? Okay. Now, let's review the definition of a function again. For each element of x value, each x value is paired with only one y value. Do you think this is meeting that definition? What do you guys think? Each x value has only one y value. What do you guys think? Yeah, that's right. Now, when you look at the coordinates, yeah, each x is paired with one y value, right? However, and there's a little tricky here part here, which is the problem is these two coordinates. Now, what do you notice about that? Now, one, which is a domain, is paired with 6. This is called a mapping. Representation of what this is, okay? 1 is paired with 6, right? But also, isn't 1 also paired with 7 as well? So this 1 is paired with a 6, but then at the same time, 1 is also paired up with 7 as well. And that is kind of the violating the definition of the function, because in order for this to be function, the domain, each element of domain is only paired with only one range, y value. But this guy, 1, is paired up with two different y values. And so that is kind of breaking the rule there. So for this is not function. Does that make sense? Let's try another example. Okay. Are you guys with me? Do you need time to copy this down? I'll give you 30 more seconds to just wrap up on taking the notes. For those who have all of this written down in your notes, think of a B and D is a function. Okay, ready to do number B. So is a B function? Well, let's do the domain and range. You can talk about domain and range first. Now, domain is x value, okay? And range is a y value. So how do you do that? You just look at each dot. What's the x value of this dot that I'm circling? Isn't that, it's kind of hard to see. That's a -2, right? So the domain is -2. Now how about this dot? Well, same thing, -2. So you don't need to write the same number twice. What's the x value of this dot? That's 1. How about this one? That's 2. How about this dot? And that's a 6. So the domain is composed of -2, 1, 2, and 6. So you do the next. What's the range? Now range is the y value. Okay. And the y values are, so write it down. What's the y value of this dot? -5. What's the y value of this dot? It's -1. What's the y value? Y value is 2. The y value for those, both of them, is 3. Now the question is this a function? Very good. Can you guys see the chat? What Francisco is saying? And he's correct. It's not a function again, because when x is -2, right? What's the y value? -2. When x is -2, you've got two different y value, isn't it? When x is -2, y is 3. But also when x is -2, y is -5. So for that one x value, again, is paired up with two different y values. Again, for that reason, this is not function. Okay. Okay, let's talk about D. Again, let's not do the domain because, well, domain is right here. Domain, and this is the range. So it's already separated into a domain and range. But is this a function? What do you guys think for D? Again, this is not a function because this one is paired up with the two separate y values. So again, this is not a function. So what is a function, right? Well, is it E function? Can two different x values be paired up with one y value? Is that okay? Does that meet the definition of a function, which is right here? Each element of the domain is paired up with one y value. And in this case, this is okay. So you could have two different x valued paired up with one y value. And that is okay. This is yes, yes function. Because it is not violating the definition of the function, which is that one x value is paired up with one y value. Okay, one is paired up with one. Negative one is paired up with a one. 0 is paired up with a negative 1. So each x value has only one y value. So that will be okay. Okay, it is a function. Oh. Hang on a second, guys. Stick. All right. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You guys need time to catch up on writing. Let me give you a minute to catch up on copying the notes, writing the notes. Does anybody have any questions? Does this make any sense to you? So if you see something like this, where you have a one x value going to the two different y value, this is a not function. Okay. if it goes like that. One x value split into two different y value. That is not a function, cannot function. But if you have, let's say, two different y value, two different x value going to one y value, that is okay. It is function. Okay. So the first one split into two different y value, not function. But two x value going to the one y value, that's okay. That's a function. Yeah. Ready to move on? Okay. Now, there is another tool for us to determine whether it's a function or not, and that's called vertical line test. Okay. Well, vertical line test is this. I want you to imagine just an invisible, like a vertical line. Vertical is this way, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to move the vertical line from left to right or right to left. It doesn't matter. Okay. So for example, let's see. So here's a vertical line. Okay. Can you guys all see that? so just imagine that there's the red vertical line. And I'm going to keep moving this vertical line left to right, right to left. It doesn't matter the direction. If the vertical line, the red line, is only crossing only one point of the graph, then it is a function. However, if the vertical line touches 2 points of the graph or more than 1 point of the graph, then it will not be a function, because for certain x value, now you're going to have two different y values. So for this one, I'm going to keep moving the red line left to right. Let's zoom in. You guys able to see this? So I'm moving the red line left to right, right to left. I'm always connecting only 1 point of the graph, isn't it? Okay. If I move it over here, I'm only intersecting the graph at 1 point. So this is a function. However, for the next graph, let's move the vertical line over here. This is not going to be a function. Do you guys see why? Because right now, I'm only intersecting 1 point, right? So far, so good, right? So it is a function still, but what happens if I cross over to here? Now I am intersecting actually 3 locations, right here, right here, right here. I'm crossing 3 locations of the graph, intersecting at 3 points. And so for that, this is not a function. Because for this x value, how many different y values do you have? When x is, let's say this is 2. When x is 2, how many different y values? Well, you've got 1 y value, 2 y value, 3 y values. You've got 3 different y values for 1 X value. Yeah, well, you can just say vertical line test failed, so it is not a function. Yeah. And this is more of a for you to determine whether it's a function or not. And I don't know. On the test, I will just ask you, oh, is this a function? You don't really need to state the reason. Yes, this is a function. No, this is not a function. But does that make sense for the vertical line test? And a vertical line test can be used for the collection of dots too. Everybody tell me, is this a function for C? Yes function or no function? Which one is it? Yeah, this is a yes, isn't it? It's a function because at any time I'm only hitting one dot, right? I'm hitting one dot. I'm hitting one dot right here. I'm hitting one dot right here. So I am only crossing one dot. But if you have a dot like this, then it will not become a function because now I'm hitting two dots right there, right? But again, at any point, I'm hitting only one dot. So this is yes function. Not grammatically correct way to say that, but you get the point. How about D? Is a D a function? Everybody, what do you think? Decide a yes or no. Yes function, no function. Which one is it? Very good. Thank you. Because once you get inside the circle, now you're hitting 2 points. So this is not function. Okay, does that make sense, guys? So that's pretty much it. So I want you to be able to first determine what the domain and range is. And next, I need you to be able to determine whether it's a function or not. Okay. And those are the three things that I want you to be able to do today. So let's work on the assignment. Does anybody need any more time to copy down the notes? Otherwise, let's get started on the assignment. Yeah, please take your time. We've got time. How much snow do you think we will get tonight and tomorrow? Or do you think we will get some snow? What do you think? What's your prediction? 1 inch, 2 inch? I don't know, we haven't had like a huge snowstorm for a while. It's been a couple of years, but yeah, maybe some ice. You, Aiden, you live in Kaiser. Does anybody else live in Kaiser? Yeah. You live in West Salem. Very good. Does anybody live, who lives the farthest from Salem? Yeah. Or who is listening to this, uh, the class right now from maybe out of the state? I've had students telling me, hey, Mr. Takar, I'm in Idaho right now, or something like that. I was really impressed that the student was trying to keep up with a class from Idaho for a family trip or something. Anybody out of town right now? I've had one student who was on vacation in Sun River, and he was still trying to log into the class. Is anybody in town right now? Well, I'm just going off the tangent right now, but in April, I have to go to Utah. So I may either create a video beforehand for you guys to watch, or maybe I will teach from Utah. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, all right, let's get started on the assignment. Okay. So here is the assignment for today. Now, I do not need you guys to copy down the graph, okay? But let's go through the some exercise here. You know, there are some pretty similar questions. Let's not do number 4. We don't need to do that. It's kind of a busy, makes it more of a busy work than anything else. So let's just do number 1. Okay. We don't need to now. Okay. Let's do number 1, number 3. Let's skip number 2, and we'll do the rest too. Okay. Let's do number 1 and number 3 for now. Okay. Is everybody all ready? So write down homework 1.4. And we're just going to state domain and range. Okay. So everybody do that. Now if you are wondering why Mr. Takar is using this squiggle bracket, I am not trying to make it pretty or make it look nice, but actually in mathematics, this is called set. This is called set notation. And I'm not trying to make it fancy or make it pretty, but actually this is a math symbol for a set. Okay, so and it looks pretty too. So, but the set of domain is made up of what? You guys want to try that? What are all the x values for number 1? You guys all have that? It is -1, -2, -3, and -4. You are just going to list all the x value. That's it. Okay. Don't overcomplicate yourself. Okay. By the way, we're not doing number 2. How about the range for number 1? Range is a y value. So you're just going to list all the y values. What are the y values? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. You've stated the domain and range. Okay. Now, this when you talk about domain and range in other math classes, maybe next year, it can become a little bit more complicated. Okay, but at least I hope you can remember from Mr. Takara's class, a domain is X values. That's what I want you to remember from this Algebra 2 class. Okay, and the range is the possible Y values. No, you don't need to do the ones that I crossed off. Okay, let's do number 3. So now you do this this time by yourself. What is the domain? What's the range? So you're going to list all the X values for domain. Just go one dot at a time. Can you guys all see okay? And for those who just came in, can't remember the name of who just came in. So domain is all the X values. So this is what you do. I'll give you an example. For this dot, what is the X value? X value is -1, -2. It's -3, isn't it? So -3 is a domain. How about this dot? Isn't that -2? And how about these 2 dots? What's the X value? X value is, it's 1. Okay? And what's the X value for those 2 dots? It's 3. So the domain is made up of -3, -2, 1, and 3. You guys okay with that? Now, how about the range? Now you try a range. Range is Y value. Am I going too slow or too fast? You let me know, okay? So the range Y value for these 2 dots is, it's going to be -3. What's the Y value of this dot right there? Can somebody tell me? What's the Y value? Y value is 0. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And then Y value for these 2 dots is going to be 1. And the Y value for that is going to be 3. So that's the domain and range. Okay. Now let's not worry about whether it's a function or not. Okay. You guys know how to do the domain and range, right? And we're not going to do any more complicated domain and range problem. That's it. Okay. If you can tell me what domain and range is for those questions, number 1, number 3, you're good to go. Okay. Next, we need to be able to determine whether it's going to be a function or not. Okay. Number 5. Let's do all the rest of the problem. Is number 5 a function? What do you guys think? Yeah, Gentry, you said yes. Do you guys agree with that? Is number 5 function? No? Yes, no? Now, it's kind of hard to determine by just looking at the coordinate, isn't it? like this. So one way to organize the coordinates is to describe a mapping. So for example, 2 goes for 4. 4 goes for 8. 8 goes for 16. And 10 goes for, okay. Now 10 goes also for 16. Now, is that okay? 8 is going for 16 and 10 is going for 16. Is that okay? Actually, this is okay. 2x value can go for 1 y value. That's okay. But 1x value should not be going split into 2 different y values. That is not okay. But this one is okay. So this is a yes function. You guys getting that? Let's do number 6. So let's do the mapping again. So why don't you try that? Is number 6 a function? Maybe you already notice it, but without converting into a mapping. -3 goes to 2, -2 goes to 5, but -2 goes to 7. We can just stop right there, but 0 goes to -1. Now, is this a function? That's right. So for number 6 is not a function. Because 1x value is paired up with 2 different y values. It's like a one guy going out to 2 different girlfriends. That's a bad example. I don't know. Is that a bad example? That's not good. Okay. So that's not a function. Okay. But number 5 is a function. Okay. Number 7. So is number 7 function? Everybody answer a yes or no. Is that okay? Number 7, here is 3 is going to for 5, -2 is going to 5 as well, but that's okay. Okay, this is a yes function. How about number 8? Is number 8 a function? Number 8 is not a function because 7 is going for 6 and -3. It's kind of hard to see. That's what those arrows are. Now 7 again is going for 6 and -3. So this is a not function. Okay. The last is we're going to practice the vertical line test. Okay. Would number 9 pass the vertical line test? Yeah. Is my vertical line, the red line, hitting only one dot, one part of the graph? Yeah, so this is yes function. About, well, not that. About number 10? Number 10 is a yes function or a no function? Number 10 is not a function because I am hitting multiple dots, right? Once you go over, like right here, now I'm hitting 3 dots. Now I'm hitting 2 dots. So once you hit more than one point of the graph or the dots, then it is a null function. Because for that x value, you're going to have a multiple y values. Okay. Number 11 is kind of a little bit tricky one. What do you guys think? I don't know if I will ever ask you something like this, but do you think 11 is a function or not? What do you guys think? Yeah. Very good. Very good. It is not a function. Okay. Why not? Because when you have a vertical line over here, now I am connecting with multiple points, isn't it? Okay. Right here, it's okay, right? There's only one point. Here is okay. But then once I go over here, I'm hitting multiple locations. So this is not a function. Number 12, by the way, this means that the line is growing this way. Line is going this way. Is this a function? Yes, okay. Any point, I am only intersecting one part of the line, right? 1 point, 1 point. How about number 13? Again, this is a yes. 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, right? I'm only intersecting one location of the graph with a vertical line. So this is yes. And then how about 14? 14 is not function because like right there, I am hitting not just once, but 2 and even like a 3 locations, right? So this is not function. For that x value, you've got multiple y values, and that would not be a function. The reason why it's important to talk about whether it's function or not especially in algebra, you can only find one solution at a time, right? When you have an one x value has multiple y values, then it will become very difficult, or you're not able to figure out the pattern there. And in order for the equation to be a function, in order for the equation to be useful for predicting for the values, each x value should only have a one y value in order for the relation to be have some sort of significant patterns with the equations described. I don't know if that I'm making any sense to you, but okay. And so that's why we talk about whether it's a function or not. Okay. And and sometimes there are ways for the non-functions to be function. For example, like you're going to talk about this in maybe in the future math classes, like a circle function. Well, it's not a function, right? Because you've got multiple points crossing. But the circle actually can be divided into half a circle. So you could talk about half of a circle and then treat that as a function. And then you can talk about the bottom half as another half of a function and treat that as another function. But anyway, that's for another advanced mathematics. Um, but for now, I want you guys to just get the idea of what the function is. Okay. I hope I gave you guys enough of a time to write it down. If you do need to take a look at it, please stick around. Otherwise, this is all I have for today. Okay, thank you guys for paying attention. I hope you were able to. Um, are you scale of 1 to 5? Tell me, guys, before you go. Did you understand what we just talked about? Domain, range. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So please make sure that you take the picture of this and then submit the assignment before you do anything else. Okay. Otherwise, have a great day and I will see you guys tomorrow. Okay. Take care. If you need to copy the whiteboard, please stick around.